Good afternoon, everybody. I hope you are all well. We've been anticipating this day for some of us for over a year now, and we're all super excited to finally be able to sit down today and celebrate that this book, Teaching Physical Education in International Schools, is coming out. And today we have a very special hour for all of you. And we are very excited to have not just this amazing panel with us today, but also we are hoping that we have people watching us right now and following this us live. But otherwise, we'll also have the recording later for anybody to watch it. We do want to take a moment to acknowledge the tensions in the Middle East, and all of us who have been abroad for a long time all have friends there as we speak. And so we want those people who are there to know that you are in our thoughts and our prayers, and that we hope that there is a resolution soon enough. And we can't wait to hug you guys again, and that everybody is safe. And please keep communicating with us. And we are thinking about all of you and can't wait to see you again. So thank you all for joining us today. This is really an interesting, a fun way to do this, because none of us, I mean, maybe just Aaron has seen the book and Dana has probably read it, but none of us have actually been able to read each other's chapters. So this is a really fun box of surprises that we all want to talk about. In fact, I can't wait to dig in with some of the people who are here today, because I only know the title of your book. The preview allows us to read some of the information, but not the full book. So I cannot wait to dig in deeper. And so, Aaron Begley has been around the world a lot, travels often. He's a huge friend of FAISE. He helps out in most of the conferences that we do. He's always there. He's helping us grow. And I think that at the same time, he's met a lot of us at these conferences. And so, it's a really interesting perspective from what he has learned from teaching and all his time back in the United States, and also what he learns when he comes abroad and meets people, educators who work abroad. And so I want to really start by bringing him in first and trying to understand the why. What was the inspiration to bring in all these voices, and how did it all come about? So it would be great to know where this all came from. So I want to welcome Aaron Begley, and welcome, buddy, and give us some of this information, man.
Well, thanks for hosting this, Carlos, and thanks to FAISE for making it an opportunity as well. Yeah, I've been around international schools since 2015, and I've always been fascinated. And really, the stories of international school teachers is what fascinates me the most. The teaching is unbelievable, environments, and it's just an amazing context, if you will. And through that and through my fascination, I met Dana, and Dana has a book called Becoming an International School Educator, and it's a similar format, and it's teachers telling their stories. And I read that, and I think I was reading it on a flight from Atlanta to Lexington. It's only an hour flight. And I thought, we need this for physical education teachers. And that started it. So I had been in touch with Dana, and I asked Dana, how did you go about this with Routledge? I'd written lots of books, but I've never proposed one as the editor. And I knew I couldn't do this on my own. And so I recruited Dana to help with this. And then my wife is Heather Irwin, is also an editor. But the stars of is you all, and the stories that you all tell is unbelievable. And I would have been happy to get 15 stories, and we had, I forget how many we had that applied, or I sent out, got the proposal approved, and then sent it out and sent out a what do you call it, a call for chapters, and it just took off, and it has been an amazing ride. The fact that you all haven't seen each other's chapters is an epic fail on my part. That was my intent, but I will be, to be honest, the process with Routledge was so smooth that it never became a gap where we had time to send it off and give you all a month or two to look at it before the next step. They just kept moving things forward. So, yeah, that's the story. I'm fascinated and just kind of an international school PE geek, and I'm wait to hear you guys' stories. That's what I'm here for.
When I did my Google Innovator Academy many years ago, one of the pillars of Google, their innovation pillars, is to build on the ideas of others, and that there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with taking a great idea and then focusing it on a different market or on a different group of people, because everybody needs to feel inspiration somehow in different ways. But when you had, you had the idea about getting all these voices in, why not go with theory and rather with just people's stories?
Well, any researchers listening are going to hate me. I'm not much on theory, and I know it has its place, and I understand that. But my whole goal when I started my doctoral program was to be the bridge between the research and what physical education teachers need. And it wasn't there. I still think there's a lot of area of growth for that. And I think that you can get a lot more as a teacher. You can get a lot more out of a book like this, and hearing the stories, not only the journeys that you all took, but how that led to your expertise or where you are right now in your career. That's the fun thing about all of these chapters. It shows the evolution of quality teachers and how they start in one place and end in another place, and then they change again. But then also ending with practical strategies that you can use tomorrow. And I think that's fascinating work. I write other things on research and how that works and how we do that kind of stuff. And that's great. I have no problem with that. But I think in this context, I really wanted to share the stories and journeys and personal stories that teachers have in their words. I didn't want to interview and write about it. I wanted teachers to write about it. I think it's a powerful tool to be able to share your story and your strategies.
Amazing. And you know what? Speaking of stories, I think, also Dana and I go back now more or less 10 years. I think Dana was there the moment that I did a Teach Meet, where I had some kids do a dance presentation. And from there, she was able to also see me develop into a conference presenter and then a keynoter, and then move in and doing all these different projects. And so it's really awesome that Dana is in this project. So I want to bring her on for a little bit. And Dana, you want to tell us a little bit about your experience helping us out with this project?
Sure. First of all, I think we go back way more than 10 years. Because I've been with ISS for 7. Oh my gosh, time has gone by quickly. But anyway, I feel really honored to be able to be a part of this, because PE, I am not the expert in PE. All of you are the experts. You know what you're talking about. And I've just been honored to be a part of the project, because really PE is the one, I think, or one of the stabilizing forces for our students when they're trying to navigate new cultures, new identities, and new transitions within the international schools. And there isn't just one right way to do it. To piggyback on what Aaron was saying, like, it's not about a theory, it's about all the different stories. And teaching internationally, I believe, is the best kept secret in education. But the best way to learn about teaching internationally is to hear multitudes of voices, because each one of us has unique experiences with our students and in the classroom and in different cultures that we're teaching in. And the authors in this book have just made that come alive, which has been phenomenal. And it's the voices of all. It's not the voice of one that makes us strong in the international schools. It's all of our voices combined together to talk about the amazing experiences that we can have together.
Dana, how did it feel to read people's chapters? Maybe you knew a couple of us, but how did it feel to just dive in?
Oh, so much fun to find the common threads and to see how people's one story can kind of relate to another. And it's like a jigsaw puzzle. I love doing puzzles. I always have one going at my house, and trying to see how all the pieces fit together to create a unified vision and story about what's happening in our schools. That's my favorite part.
Awesome. That's amazing. Thank you, Dana. We're going to bring these guys back in as we go throughout the hour. But now I'd like to talk to some of the contributors Some of them, I think most of them, are my good buddies. Known you guys for years through different projects and different conferences, etc. Have had great times with you guys. So it's for me, it's also really special to be sharing this contribution with them as well. So I'd like to bring the amazing Rachel Ford up to the stand. And Rachel, tell us a little bit about your journey teaching internationally first, and then tell us what motivated you to write your chapter.
Okie dokie. Hey, Carlos. Hey, everyone. Nice to see everyone. I'm super excited to hear everybody's experiences and read the chapters also. So journey started in the north of England, trained and qualified as a teacher. And then I have a similar story to somebody else on this panel. Maybe that'll come across here. But then I went off to Malaysia, spent 4 years teaching in Malaysia in 2 different schools. And now I'm in China. And I've been in China since 2019. So just before COVID, experienced all of COVID while in China, which was fun. And I'm still here. So it's been an odd one because international teaching was, well, I didn't know about it. I think when we talk about there being a real gap with international teaching and it being the best kept secret, I would totally agree. And that was part of my motivation for getting involved with this book, because as I was doing my degree and doing my teacher training, we were never told about international teaching. It was never an option. We were just told how competitive it would be to get a job in the UK. So I really believe there's a real gap there in teacher education as well. I really think that should be part of teacher education, opening the door for international teaching, making sure it's an option for people, because it's one of the best choices I ever made, and it's brought me to some fantastic places. I would have never have thought I would have been teaching in China. As I left Malaysia, China was never on the cards. A great opportunity just popped up, and I went for it, and I'm still here loving life. And yeah, I think that was my real motivation for getting involved, was just to share the journey I've been on, because it's been amazing and it's been challenging, and I want to help open the door to international teaching, to make sure it's something that people consider, but also balance that you're international, but you're still teaching. It's not a holiday. You're living in a country. You're not visiting a country. So also balancing those expectations as well.
Thank you, Rachel. And Thomas Matthews is a very good friend of mine as well. We never worked together, but between him and I, we have locked down Sheco International School now for like 10 years of work, 15 years of work, maybe. Thomas, your chapter is about juggling, but I don't know if it's about juggling all the things you do as an athletics director, or if it's about actual juggling. Do you want to, first of all, tell us a little bit about your international journey, and then a little bit about your chapter?
Yeah, sure. Well, first of all, thank you guys for having me on. This is it was just super fun to write the chapter. I didn't consider myself a writer. I don't know if I consider myself a writer now, but it was an extremely fun project for me to dive into. And so yeah, just thanks a lot to Dana and Aaron and the folks that were behind the scenes doing the hard work. I actually didn't go to Teachers College. My bachelor's is in sports management, and I got out of university and didn't know what I wanted to do. I worked for the Dallas Mavericks for a little while. I worked for a company called Daktronics that some of you may know, big scoreboard provider across America and actually across the world. But my wife was a teacher, and she taught in Uvalde for a couple of years in South Texas, and she would come home with all these fascinating stories, and all the connections that she had with young people. And I felt like that was kind of missing in my life, right? I was making a huge impact in sales, but I didn't really feel like I was making an impact on people's lives. And so an opportunity came up. We've actually first learned about international teaching at a bull riding in my father-in-law's on his property, right? Somebody was talking to us and they said, "Oh yeah, have you ever heard of this?" And spring break, she interviews, and July we're on a plane to China. And so I've spent 10 years total in China, 6 years at SIS. I spent 4 years at another school, and 2 years in Korea. And all through those years, in some capacity, and as the director or coordinator of athletics and activities programs, and teaching PE now and then in between as well. So it's been an exciting journey, but I kind of feel like, it's just starting, right? 12 years abroad. I feel like I've got another 12 years in me, hopefully. My chapter, juggling has always been something that has fascinated me. I am really not that good at juggling, if I'm being honest, but I can juggle a little bit, right? But when it comes to juggling different objects, or 4 balls, or doing all the crazy stuff, it's not for me. But this is more, I guess, a little bit of literal juggling, right? But a little bit of metaphorical juggling as well, right? And that's really what my chapter focuses on. It's just the different ways that not just athletic directors, but any educator juggles what we do on a daily basis.
That's really awesome, and I love how we all do. So we all have different jobs at all these schools and have so many different experiences. Dana, would you like to follow up with either Rachel or Thomas?
Sure. I think for either one of you, like what I kind of hear you, like a common thread that I hear you saying is something, it kind of goes along with juggling, right? Like that teaching internationally is the intersection of all different types of expectations, from curriculum frameworks and culture and community values. So what stands out in both of the stories that both of you wrote is really how like clarity of purpose can help educators navigate the complexity without like losing yourself. And how do you work within those environments? For both of you, like, is there something in particular that, or like a common thread that you wish people who are aspiring to teach overseas knew?
Rachel, I'll happily let you go first if you have something.
I was hoping you would jump in first. I think it's, for me, as time's gone on teaching internationally, I think it's making sure there's always, for me, one thing that grounds me outside of work, because it is a huge juggling act. What you're asked to do in PE is often transfers into the sports department as well, and the extracurricular and the weekend competitions. And if it's your sports season, it can just feel all go on top of teaching your timetable, right? But it's been really important for me to have something outside of work, and for me it's jiu-jitsu, but something just that wherever I go, wherever I travel on holiday, wherever I may travel and live next, that's available, and it will always be there for me and be mine and be part of my identity, almost, because it can be very, and I think we've seen it with teachers, it can be really, really overwhelming when you're coming into a school and trying to figure all that out, as well as trying to figure out life in a new country and all the cultural aspects of that. So just having something that is available globally that is just the same wherever you go.
Yeah, just to add, I would say that you're not necessarily accepting a job, right? I think you're joining a community. And that's a better way to look at it when you're coming into an international school, because Yeah, sure, we do a job and we get paid for it. But if you look at it as a 9 to 5 or an 8 to 4, or whatever you would consider a work day, you're never going to find fulfillment in those work hours, right? You're going to find fulfillment in really diving in deep to a community and finding your worth there, and not really paying attention to the clock, and seeing value in what you get out of people and what they get out of you. I think that's a better way to look at it than accepting a job overseas, because it's very different than working domestically.
Thank you, guys. That's awesome. So as our book progresses, we move into talking about culture and flexibility. And Megan Lockett's chapter is in this section. Megan, welcome. And we're so happy to have you here. And same question for you as everybody else. Tell us a little bit about your international journey and what motivated you to write your chapter.
Thanks so much, Carlos. I love that we're matching shirts as well. We're representing faith, which is always a win. Hi to everyone. Just motivated me to write the chapter. Aaron asked. I love working with Aaron. We got a really great opportunity to present together in November. I think it was November. And he's generally someone who I'll write to if I need some advice on something or any ideas and things like that. And so, just any opportunity to write, I was super excited. But a little bit about my journey. I moved abroad when I was 21. And I think I've talked about this a little bit before and probably going to talk about it. You're going to hear about it again in the podcast that's coming later on this week. But I was 21. And just by chance in one of our university talks, somebody came in and said, do you want to go outside and go to a different country and do your master's part-time and teach part-time? And this is IB. This is what IB looks like as a framework. And we don't do science experiments in the lab room. We go out into the jungle. And it was just this really great pitch. And I was sold. And I think talking to people in the UK from the placement school that I was on at the time, they were like, if I had my time over, I'd go abroad. And so that's what I did. And I think I was very naive when I was so young, and kind of thought the way that I'd been trained and what I'd learned, that was the way that we had to do everything. And then kind of got in the classroom on day one and realized very quickly that wasn't how things went. And then, you're working with a lot of people from different cultures, different backgrounds. And so I always envision my first few years is when you're running on a treadmill and you're just trying to keep up with the belt. I just felt like that. And so, I just wrote about that. And I think I'm really interested in that bridge between theory and practice. I'm doing my doctoral studies part-time. So I'm in my 5th year of what seems to be forever, but hopefully it's going to come to an end soon. But I'm just really interested in this idea of reflection and transferring some of that theory into practice. And I think recently when I've been writing, I've been thinking about a cooking analogy. And so how we've got all of these ingredients, we've got all of these models, we've got pedagogical models, we've got teaching and learning, we've got things from homeroom that are coming across. We've just got all of these different tools that we can use or ingredients, and then how we're putting it together in this big mix of what's happening with students. And so, I just wrote a little bit more about the big mess that is that and reflecting in that.
I know that the treadmill in international schools for everybody doesn't stop, but I do believe we get stronger. And even if we get tired, we keep up the pace. But you're right about everything that comes at us. It is a lot, and we should not tell people otherwise, because it is a lot of work, I feel sometimes. Dana, would you like to follow up with Megan on anything on this one?
Well, I'm just wondering, so Megan, I'm so impressed that you're working on your doctorate. And do you want to just expand a little bit about, like, I think professional learning in our international schools is above and beyond anything I've seen. And it's just incredible, the opportunities that we have and how you're using your doctorate to help inform your practice and just internally, like, what do you want to do with it long term?
Yeah, I'm really lucky that I'm in a department. I think there's 18 members of staff across the school. So we have 5 full-time elementary teachers, 5 secondary full-time, a part-time secondary, and then we have 7 fully qualified Thai teaching assistants who are PE teachers here in Thailand, but they work as assistants for us. And I don't consider them as assistants at all because they've been working here even longer than most of the people in the department, and they're the constant, and they're the people who I would go to consistently for advice on a lesson, or if I want to have some ideas for different ways of teaching things or team teaching. It's amazing. So I think definitely the opportunities that I've got. My first 2 positions were a little bit different. I was in very small departments, so I had to look elsewhere, which was how I found FAISE, which was awesome. But honestly, like the professional learning that I get on a daily basis, because we all share an office. I mean, it's, I was saying this to Aaron, I think a few weeks ago, but if we had like a camera on filming us, like it was like The Office, and you came in the morning and saw what's happening and just all the conversations that are happening and the opportunities that we get just sometimes even across elementary and secondary when we're sat in the same office and you're like, I really don't know how to do this. It's like a great safe space that we can be vulnerable with one another, that we can ask each other for ideas. We have opportunities to share. So for example, if we're presenting, usually I'm like, can you guys be my guinea pigs so I can run this session with you and give me some feedback? So that's been really great. And with my doctoral studies, it's been nice because I've got the support there. So I wanted to do a small piece of research last year, and we looked at reflective diaries, some journal entries online. And I know that's extra work to ask my already busy members of the department to do, but actually there's really rich discussions that came out of that. And it ended up being a really positive thing that I thought, maybe sometimes when you ask more of people, it's a bit of a grumble, but actually like just working with similar like-minded people who are willing to support each other. And that's been really interesting. I love presenting. So eventually I'd love that to leave, but for now, I'm really enjoying the process of trying to connect the theory and practice. And so end goals, I'm not sure yet. I thought I might want to go into teacher training, but the more I look at that, I've kind of got a really cushy deal, and I'm really happy with where we are at the moment. So I'm not sure that I want to change that up just yet, but I'm really excited about looking into practice.
Thank you, Megan. And we're all very excited to be here with you as you go through this journey. Let us know how we can help. So as our book progresses, the last section of our book is called Models of Meaningful Practice. And this section is a bit more wide open because Aaron and Dana probably had to read a lot of different submissions because they're all quite different. But I do want to introduce another good friend of mine, Matt McGowan. And Maddie and I, actually, we share a lot of messages back and forth weekly about practice and just questions in general. We're talking about the next phase together already, which is really exciting. Maddie, your chapter for Embracing Universal Design for Learning in Physical Education sounds interesting and also very complex. Can you tell us about what motivated you to share about this practice and also what brought you out internationally?
Sure. Hey, Carlos and everyone else. Good to see you all. I'll start off a little bit about the chapter first, and I'd say the opportunity to write in the book was partly a chance for me to use the writing as a chance to reflect on my learning and understanding around universal design for learning and its application with MP. It's something that as a school at UNIS Hanoi we've been working on for the last few years. So it's just more of a reflection process for me. For those of you who might be new or not know anything about Universal Design for Learning yet, one of its key tenets is that it acknowledges that there is no average learner and that all learners are unique and learn differently through engaging with their environment. And I actually start off our chapter with a bit of a story about my family. And in the United Kingdom, when we go home to see my children's grandparents, one of the favorite things that my kids love to do, and at the time of writing the chapter, they were 6, 4, and 3 months old, is that they love to go to Newcastle on a double-decker bus. And using the story of the double-decker bus and how when it pulls up to the bus stop, the floor lowers down so that I'm able to get on with the pushchair. There's a separate parking area for me with a pushchair for people with wheelchairs. There's a handrail to help my children hold up and get up the stairs safely to walk and sit at the front of the bus so they've got the best view. There's an electronic announcer to tell them what bus stop they're coming up to. And there's a red button which they can press to let the bus driver and other passengers know about that they want to get off the bus. So the thing about Universal Design for Learning and this bus story is meant to be a metaphor, is that this bus was intentionally designed and acknowledges that all of the people who use the bus are very, very different and their needs are very different. And this bus has been intentionally designed to accommodate that diverse needs of learners. So it poses a bigger question around how, if we acknowledge that all learners are different, how then do we design our learning environments to meet those needs? So the chapter goes into a little bit of a story with a unit around skateboarding and how we try and identify the learning goal first, then identify what a barrier to learning might be, and then think using the UDL framework to intentionally design our environment with these barriers in mind. To go back to your other question about my journey, similar to some other people in the call already, it was by chance that I came across international teaching. I was on a year out after finishing my teacher training, where I went to Argentina to learn a bit of Spanish and to travel around. Didn't learn as much Spanish as I intended on doing, but had a great time. And I did some work at an English immersion camp. And all these camps were basically filled up with international schools, and I was coming down and the kids were awesome. It was just really cool hearing all the different experiences, all the different cultures that were coming into these camps, as it was when I was traveling around Argentina and the rest of South America. And when the prospect of going home was on the horizon as the bank account was draining, then I looked into international schools a bit more, and then I think I applied at a London job fair, I think in April or May time, and then was out in Egypt, in Cairo, in the following August. So yeah, and then that's been our life for the last 15 years. So
that's pretty amazing. And I do want to highlight, if people are not following Matty on LinkedIn, the stuff that he shares, the stuff that he does, what they're doing up there at UNIS is very special. You guys are doing inclusion incredibly, and also just the way that you're empowering your students' voices in general. Every time you post something, I am taking notes. It's pretty awesome. This is probably why I bother you so much on WhatsApp.
It's always
Aaron. Aaron, do you have any follow-ups for Matty?
Yeah, Matt, I want to hear about the good times in Argentina. Can you share? I'm just kidding. So can you explain, and I think this is a similar story to everyone on here, but how did you get, I'm sure you didn't start knowing in your teaching career knowing about UDL. So how do teachers and the impact of professional development get you to where you are now?
Sure, that's a really good question. I'd say I went through my teacher training in the UK, and I was basically taught to teach PE how I experienced PE, which when I reflected back on my experiences of PE, it's not how it was great for me as someone who was sporty, athletic. It was very much just basically teach skill and then occasionally work towards that game. And when I'm reflecting back on it, also noticing that was basically geared towards the top 10% of people. And there's lots of people who were probably lost and didn't have those same experiences, which I got to have. So as I was moved abroad, I became more aware of different educational frameworks that people could work in. And then connecting with different teachers, I started to move into the International Baccalaureate, which is where the framework in which I teach now, which I really like as a framework. It aligns with what I value, I feel like, which I think is particularly important. And then, as Donna was talking about as well, as the professional development that we get at international schools is pretty incredible. I was initially introduced to UDL by a good friend called Marcus Down, who a lot of you may know. And then our school actually started to go on this journey of applying UDL within our spaces. So yeah, I've been very fortunate with some of the professional development and learning that I've been exposed to during all my time actually, when I've been working internationally. So it's been a journey for sure to get to this point.
Yeah, it's just an interesting, again, I hope everyone can see what we've talked about so far, that it's just the journeys are just fascinating, and no two are alike, and similar background, but then go different places, and it's just a fascinating background. So I want to shift a little bit to Carlos, because I really related to his chapter, because I grew up with brothers too, and we made games out of everything, and it was a great way to be brought up. So Carlos, can you share a little bit about your chapter, what motivated you, and a little bit about your journey? I didn't have horses in my background, but
well, thank you for having me. So basically, I'll start with the journey of how I became a teacher and ended up abroad. It's really one of luck, and I think that it happens more often than we think, but you do need a lot of luck. Essentially, the only thing I can say is that I was blessed to have attended an international school myself, because that's where I learned English. So I went to a school called Colegio Maya in Guatemala City. That's where I learned English, because my mom's Italian, my father was Guatemalan. So I'm pretty lucky to be able to speak 3 languages, actually. I see Dana surprised. Dana, what have you got to say about Colegio Maya? Do you know it?
It's a fabulous school, and I didn't know you were a TCK. That's so cool. How did I not know that?
And so basically, yes. So that's where I went to school. I finished school, and then my family starts to struggle financially, and I had to make the choice between starting university or working. So I chose to try to do both. So I started teaching English at a little language institute in Guatemala, which is where I met my wife when we were 18 years old. And then I couldn't balance both of them together, so I dropped out of university after 2 years. I was getting a degree in education. And then we decided that Guatemala was too small for us. So I took advantage of my Italian nationality, and we moved to Italy to go teach English there. I started working at a similar school, my wife as well. But one day, the American School of Milan needed subs. And so my wife went in, and then she did an amazing job, as always, and she got hired there as an EAL teacher. I continued along the path of teaching English to professionals in Milan. A couple years later, we get an offer from China for my wife, and then you can't compare the salaries between Europe and Asia. So we were in China in no time. And then, I started coaching the tennis team in Checo. I started subbing a lot. And one of the principals there was like, hey, what's going on with your degree? I said, I have 2 years to go. And he's like, listen, these were different times, because that's not happening very often anymore, where they say, all right, finish your degree and start working. So I was hired as a sub, essentially, to teach PE, finished my degree, and then the rest is history. After China, we moved to Vietnam, where we're incredibly happy. We love it. And that's how I got here professionally. But my chapter, in a nutshell, has a lot to do with, being a kid, a boy in the 80s, and being able to have all those adventures with your friends and playing board games, and just noticing how people's behaviors and motivations change when you can put them in front of a game like a dice game or something like Monopoly, et cetera, et cetera. So maybe about 9-10 years ago, I started exploring and researching the benefits of gamification in PE. And, you know, at that time for me, gamification meant badges and star charts. But gamification is can be so much deeper than that, to where you can also combine elements of intrinsic and extrinsic motivation to get your students to really enjoy what they're doing, and you know, get them all to find the motivation to really not just be great in class, but also behavioral changes and different aspects of what you know, because I do believe that our lives are gamified. You know, we still deal with credit card points. We still have supermarket points. We're always trying to level up at different things at work as well. So my chapter will introduce you to gamification the way that I do it, and we'll show you some results about and some expert research that will show you how it can be very beneficial.
So, Carlos, I know as I read your chapter, but it is a theme, and I read all the chapters, that how do you keep I train PE teachers, and how do you get the desire or the motivation or the passion or whatever you want to call it to constantly look for ways to be better without getting into a rut? And do you ever struggle with the rut, and how do you get out of it?
I absolutely do struggle with the rut, and this is normal. You know, it happens to all of us. We go up and down, I believe. When my current project is called Fitcoin, which is like a cryptocurrency that my students get to earn and lose in class. This is maybe the 8th iteration of it, and you know, it started as just me writing stuff down on a piece of paper. The next year, I said, what can be better? What do the kids want to see? Get the kids involved in what motivates them. That piece of paper became a website. Now I've got ChatGPT helping me write code for the kids to be able to interact with the website. They can now go on the website and check their balances like a bank. Every year, I do make sure that I'm listening to my students. And I think when you see that it's working through your students' eyes, that's a way to help you keep going.
Sorry, I had my mute on, and it is, and I think that's a common theme that I want to say something about at the end as well. So let's move to a little bit of a lightning round for anyone that wants to pick up on these. Let's pretend that everyone listening is curious and is not into teaching abroad, or is curious about moving to a certain country. Or what is a few words of advice that you would give someone that is either looking to get into international education or is in international education, but maybe looking to jump to another position? Anybody?
Sure.
I can
I'll go.
go.
Oh, letting you go.
No, I was going to say, if you're looking and you're fresh out of qualifying, maybe the position that you get is not going to be what you expect fresh out. I think there's like a little bit of, you need to do your time. I think you need to have some of those experiences where maybe you are duct taping lines down, or you don't have teaching assistants, or there's a little bit of chaos to being able to adapt on the fly, which we talk about in the chapter, but like being flexible, and you get all of these experiences, and you kind of being a bit of a sponge. You're watching what other people do, you're learning, and not that we don't do that now as you're getting more experience, but I think as you progress in your teaching career, then you kind of figure out, well, what is my philosophy? Where do I which schools might fit with how I feel? Whereas I think when you first qualify, you have an idea of what you think you might want, And then I think after a few years, like you're constantly evolving, and even now you're evolving. And then there becomes a time, well, is this still meeting what I would like to be doing? Am I still giving the best that I can? And then trying to find what works for you. But I think in the beginning, you still don't really know what you want. So it's good to just go out there and see and try something different.
And to piggyback off that, I'd say once you are out there as well, I feel like this is an example of, whilst the international sector is obviously all over the globe, I feel like it is a very small world and people are very connected to each other, and it is easier and easier to connect with people, ask questions. I feel like I've been very fortunate with people who I've connected to who I still haven't even met face to face, who I've still been able to have some really great conversations with, who've continued to push my thinking and to open my ways to new ways of seeing things as well. So it's a very big world, but then at the same time, also very small and interconnected.
Yeah, I'll just quickly add, Megan, I think your title says flexibility in it, and really being flexible is so important, right? A lot of times we get new teachers that come in and want to coach basketball because they've always coached basketball or whatever it is, right? But we don't really need the person who's an expert in basketball to always be coaching basketball, right? We need somebody who's an expert at influencing young people and changing their lives to be coaching whatever sport it is, right? And that, for me as an athletic director and somebody who's hiring those people in those positions, that's what I'm looking for, right? Really, I could care less how much you know about basketball, right? Just be flexible and adapt and influence those young people's lives.
I'm going to jump on the back of what Matt said a little bit and say connect with people. If you're looking to go overseas or to a different country, connect with people, ask them about that country, ask them about that school. We are a really connected community, and FaZe is a great way to keep connected and meet new people for sure. Slightly contradicting that a little bit though, be open-minded. Like I keep saying, I never thought I'd have ended up in China. It wasn't a country I had on my list, but the opportunity came up and I went for it. And I hear that from a lot of people. They go to countries, they go to schools, they try new curriculums, and you've just got to be open-minded with it and give it a try.
I wanted to piggyback on something you just said too, Rachel. There's such a phenomenal community within the PE community. I mean, I remember when I first started teaching in Bangkok and we were doing Coattail, and I remember everyone was blogging and I heard about the PE Geek. And I was like, okay, why is there so many people like blogging about PE? And then from there, like all the work that, I think that's when I might have first met some of you. But even so, then I think about like FaZe, like the FaZe conference is phenomenal. The energy that happens at the FaZe conference is wonderful. And there's such a strong thread within the international schools of the community of PE teachers that it's quite lovely. And I wish I saw that in other areas of the curriculum as well, because you guys really connect and really support one another, which is fantastic.
Yeah, I just wanted to add, every time I go back home, and this might be the same for most of you guys, is that you go and you find your friends that you left behind years and years ago. And a lot of them seem to be in the exact same situation, same job, same things as before. And the thing that I get from my friends the most is, man, you had the courage to say, you know what, I'm just going to pack my bags and I'm going to try this. And I think that courage is one of the biggest things you're going to need to make that decision to say, hey, you know what? I hear great things about international school teaching. I'm going to give it a go, because I would believe that there's more than 80-85% of people who struggle to make that call, right? But in my opinion, it's absolutely worth it.
Yeah, I think that adventurous spirit, and when I talk to teachers here in the States, and I like, you can always come home. It just take that chance and go forward. And I think the linking and connection in the small world, and I always joke there's 3 degrees of separation of Dana Watts and everybody else in the international school world. And I always want to get a shirt when I go to conferences that says, "Do you know Dana Watts?" And it's just a great connection because everybody knows Dana, but everybody knows everybody, and I think that's a great situation 99% of the time. Dana, do you have any other last final thoughts before we get into, as I put you on the spot and everybody knows you?
Well, now I'm giggling because I'm thinking, like, when did I become Kevin Bacon? But I think we're all Kevin Bacon, right? Like,
Yeah,
I think there's
is.
like 1 degree of separation within all of our schools. And that's what I love. Like, people think, oh, you're moving across the world. You're not, like, how are you going to know anybody? You know someone within 2 minutes. Like, and when we go to the conferences, one of my friends from here in Princeton was just at the AIE conference with me. And he's new to learning. He's just trying to learn about the international schools. So he came and he said, I can't believe how much everyone knows everyone. And it makes it so much less scary. People think we're crazy because we pick up our lives and we move across the world, and we may not know a whole lot about the country and the culture and the school, and immediately we feel like we have a family. And I just wish more people would understand. Like, I'm worried that the world of education has become somewhat toxic in certain places. Our world of international education is not toxic. It is the most fulfilling, wonderful opportunities. And I wish more people knew about it and we could spread the word so that they don't give up the profession. They just change their location and explore all the possibilities that are out there.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I think, it's one of these that as I read these chapters and look through, throughout my entire career for the last how many ever years it's been, the one trait of all quality teachers has been, when you ask them how they teach something, they will always say, well, I started teaching this way, and then I changed it to this way, and then I'm thinking about going back, and just that process continues. And I think you've heard it today on here, and I think you'll read it in the stories as well, that it's just constant change and always looking for ways to be better. And for that reason, I think the future of physical education is bright, because it's in the hands of people like the panelists that are on here today.
Oh, thank you, Aaron. Aaron, any final news or announcements regarding the date when the book will be released and where we can buy it?
Yeah, it's on Routledge, ROUTLEDGE. And it's coming out March 12th. I think you can pre-order it as well. We will be sending out an email with a discount code for those that are listening here today. That's the latest I know. I don't have my hands on it either. I've seen the cover. That's all I have as well. So it's exciting.
Very exciting. And I know that we just need to follow you on LinkedIn to get updates as well, because you're always letting us know what's going on. Okay, well, listen, everybody. For those of you joining us and our panelists, everybody today, thank you. This hour flew by. It's pretty awesome. I want to thank each and every one of you for coming on and just sharing your stories. It's probably the biggest thing I'm taking home is knowing that I know you guys a little better now. So thank you all for this. Before we go, however, we had a discount code that we were going to show today, but we are going to instead contact the people who signed up for this, and we'll send you guys the discount code for our next phase event. And I believe it is time to announce the big announcement. Justin, do we have a special slide for this? You can pop it on now. There it is. Maddie, this is your school. What do you want to tell us about it?
Yeah, Unison is very, very excited to be hosting Phase Asia Pacific next year, or this year now, in November. Not just any phase, but the 10th year anniversary. So already thinking about all the different ways we can make this year best one yet. So yeah, exciting times ahead.
Thanks, man. Yeah, this is going to be huge. We are planning to celebrate in style. We're going to bring back our old friends for this. We're going to make sure that not only we're bringing old people back, but we're going to celebrate new people as well. And we're going to have the usual things for us, all the things that are needed from anybody who's interested in coming. We will see you there. Hopefully, we'll be sending out information if you're in our newsletter for you to register and get on that early bird pricing. So one more time, I'm signing off from Ho Chi Minh City in Vietnam. Thank you all one more time. Thank you to FaZe. Thank you, Aaron and Dana as well. And we will see you guys soon. Take care.